The NBA is in a place now where legends of the game are entering their final few seasons and established superstars dominating the game are in the middle of their prime years. But now, more than ever, the next generation of talent is incredibly stacked, and the young guys are going to be taking over the league before we know it. That's why in today's video, we'll be focusing on this next crop of talent rising through the ranks, making my first ever 25 under 25 list ranking the top 25 NBA players under 25 years of age. One caveat is that I did not include any players from this incoming rookie class, so you will not be seeing guys like Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson here, even though they very well could shoot up this list right away in their first seasons. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. Starting with number 25 and working our way up to the number 1 spot, we have Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Williams is the reigning runner-up in the Rookie of the Year race, and he specifically took off in the second half of this year. He's a player that I actually have full confidence in flying up this list over the next few seasons, but for now he sneaks on in the last spot because of his terrific defense, his fluid finishing ability, and his impressive decision-making for a wing player on a young and rising Thunder squad. Next up at number 24, we have RJ Barrett of the New York Knicks. Barrett's time in the NBA since being drafted 3rd overall in 2019 has been filled with ups and downs. He's been a 20-point scorer in the last 2 seasons, but his overall efficiency has left a lot to be desired, and when you dive deeper into the numbers, you see that a lot of the Knicks' best lineups have actually come when Barrett was on the bench, weirdly enough. He's obviously a very talented player, but it's safe to say that most expected more from him to this point. Up next at number 23, we have Jordan Poole of the Washington Wizards. 2 seasons ago in Golden State, Poole emerged as one of the best sixth men in the whole league and played a big role during their run to the title, but last season he came a bit back down to earth and had a fairly disappointing year. He's a crafty and skillful player, but his decision-making needs a lot of work, and his defensive woes saw him getting benched quite a few times during this year's playoff run. Next up at number 22, we have Scottie Barnes of the Toronto Raptors. Barnes won the Rookie of the Year award in 2022, but then in his second season, he actually regressed slightly instead of taking a big leap that many were anticipating. His jumper needs a lot of work before he can become a consistent scoring threat, but otherwise, he's a phenomenal defensive talent capable of guarding multiple positions, and he's also a very good playmaker for his size with good court awareness. Up next at number 21, we have Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets. Jalen Green is a pure scorer who can explode for a big night here and there, but his numbers come off as a bit empty, doing it on a Rockets team that has lacked structure the last few years while being at the bottom of the standings. Nobody has more 30 or 40-point outings than he does from the last 2 draft classes, but he needs to be more consistent and efficient to move up from this spot. Next up at number 20, we have Josh Giddey of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Giddey is a jack-of-all-trades guard who gives you a little bit of everything and stuffs the stat sheet on a nightly basis. He's a big guard coming off of a season averaging 17 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists per game. He doesn't really force anything when he has the ball, always looking to make the right play, and if his jumper ever becomes a consistent threat, he could be an all-star in the making. Up next at number 19, we have Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. Cunningham is someone who has very obvious talent after being selected number 1 overall in the 2021 draft, but after suffering a shin injury that held him out of all but 12 games this past season, he has to suffer in the rankings here. He can be a big-time dual-threat lead guard that scores over 20 a night and dishes the rock at an elite level, but right now, that's just hypothetical, and we need to see more from him before justifying a higher ranking. Next at number 18, we have Jaden McDaniels of the Minnesota Timberwolves. McDaniels is maybe the most underrated player in the entire NBA right now, and I'll admit that his per-game averages don't really jump off the page at you, but his impact goes well beyond that. He's one of the best defenders in the league right now, bar none. He shoots 40% from 3, and as the year went on last year, he got better and better creating his own shot off the dribble, so I think he's about to have a big breakout season in 2024. Up next, at number 17, we have Franz Wagner of the Orlando Magic. Speaking of underrated, Wagner is maybe the most productive young player that nobody around the league really talks about. In his second season last year, he averaged 19 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists per game, shooting the ball pretty efficiently, and showing that he can be a secondary playmaker on the wing. If he played anywhere but Orlando, he'd be the talk of the town, but I've definitely taken note of his progression. Next, at number 16, we have Tyler Herro of the Miami Heat. Herro's actually somewhat tough to rank on a list like this. He's a 6th Man of the Year winner, he played well as a rookie when the Heat made the NBA Finals in the bubble, he's a terrific shot creator and source of offense, but defensively he struggles mightily, and this year the Heat made it to the NBA Finals without him on the court. I think his efficiency combined with his scoring production make him more valuable than some around the league may think, but realistically, landing in the middle of this list makes sense for him. Next, at number 15, we have Paolo Banchero of the Orlando Magic. Banchero was the number 1 pick in last year's draft and went on to live up to the hype, taking home the Rookie of the Year award. In his first season, he joined a pretty exclusive club of rookies to average 20 or more points per game, he showed off his outstanding footwork and skill for someone at his size, and as long as his jumper continues to progress, he's going to be a big-time talent that could shoot up this list. Up next, at number 14, we have Tyrese Maxey of the Philadelphia 76ers. Maxey is one of the most efficient guards in all of basketball, not only scoring 20 points per game on a winning team, but making 48% of his shots and 43% of his threes as well. Maxey's combination of speed and shooting prowess makes him a tough third option to stop, and he continually gets better and better every year. Next up at number 13, we have Desmond Bane of the Memphis Grizzlies. In each of Bane's first 3 seasons, he has gotten better and better, and is now much more than just a sharpshooter. On top of that, he's shot 41% from 3 or better every season he's been in the league, and he's been able to become a reliable creator off the dribble to keep defenders on their toes. And after averaging 22 points per game this season as the second option on the 2 seed in the West, he's proven that he can produce at a high level. Next, at number 12, we have Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Mobley may not have a flashy game, but in 2 years, he's already become one of the best defensive big men in the entire league. He played a massive role in the Cavaliers having the number 1 ranked defense this season as a versatile forward capable of protecting the rim and guarding the perimeter well, and on top of that, he adds 16 points and 9 rebounds a night. Up next, at number 11, we have Deandre Ayton of the Phoenix Suns. Ayton's Phoenix tenure has been a bit rocky lately, which has probably resulted in quite a few of you souring on him as a talent, but objectively, he's one of the better centers in the game today, who has anchored top-ranked defenses and been a key cog to a team that has made an NBA Finals run. He's averaged a double-double every season of his 5-year career so far, and his best days are still likely ahead of him. Now, to start off the top 10, we have LaMelo Ball of the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo plays a fun, flashy brand of basketball and was named an All-Star 2 years ago, but he also suffers from the empty stats stigma, stuffing the stat sheet for one of the worst teams in the league. 23 points and 8 assists per game is obviously very impressive, but he's pretty bad defensively, he's been criticized for hogging the ball at times, and his numbers have yet to actually make the team around him better, so for now he's at the bottom of the top 10. Next, at number 9, we have Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies. Jaren, like Mobley, is another youngster who was named first-team All-Defense this past year because he, too, brings it each and every night on that end. He led the Grizzlies to a top 3 finish defensively as another highly versatile big man who roams the paint and blocks a ton of shots, while also capably switching out to the perimeter when needed. His offensive game has also taken huge strides every season, and he scored 19 points per game this year, and that two-way impact cannot be ignored. Up next, at number 8, we have Darius Garland of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Darius Garland is quickly becoming one of the best playmakers in the whole league. He was an All-Star 2 years ago, and this year he replicated a lot of what he did during his All-Star season while shooting the ball even better from 3, making 41% of his shots beyond the arc. His elusiveness, creativity with the ball, and floor vision, along with his ability to score from all 3 levels, already have him ranked amongst the best guards in the league today. Next, at number 7, we have Tyrese Haliburton of the Indiana Pacers. Ever since Haliburton got traded to Indiana and escaped the shadow of De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento, he's been fully unleashed, emerging as one of the best point guards in the whole league. He scores a highly efficient 21 points per game, shooting 49% from the field and 40% from 3, while also ranking amongst the league leaders in assists, dishing out 10 per game. Up next at number 6, we have Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans. Zion has all of the talent in the world, and when he's on the court, he is truly one of the most unstoppable forces in the NBA today, so as much as I want to rank Zion higher on this list, I cannot justify it because of his constant injury struggles. Zion has played just 90 games over the last 3 seasons, which isn't nearly enough of a sample size to justify a top 5 ranking on a list like this in my opinion. Next, at number 5, we have Anthony Edwards of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Edwards had a bit of a coming out party against the Nuggets in the playoffs this year despite his team's loss, by averaging 32 points in that series, and at 21 years of age, he looks ready to be one of the best shooting guards on the planet next season. His shot making is really coming into its own, he's an elite athlete in space, and if he can reel in the contested jumpers and take his game to another level, he will be not only an all-star but possibly more. Up next at number 4, we have Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. Trae doesn't always get the credit for it, but he's been one of the most productive guards in the entire NBA over the last few years. He's coming off of a down year, yet he still averaged 26 points and 10 assists per game, which very few others are even capable of producing. Since he led the Hawks to the conference finals in 2021, he has taken a step backwards and his defense has always been a huge red flag, but he's already one of the most accomplished on this whole list. Next, at number 3, we have Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies. Morant has gotten himself into some trouble due to off-the-court antics, which I won't get into, but when he's on the court, he's one of the best guards in the whole league. He led the Grizzlies to a top 2 record in the Western Conference in back-to-back seasons, he's nearly unstoppable in transition, and his 26 points and 8 assists per game will definitely be missed while he's suspended for the start of the season. Up next at number 2, we have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Last season, Shai proved that he could produce at a truly elite level while elevating those around him, because the Thunder were expected to finish near the bottom of the standings, but ended up making the play-in tournament, nearly making the playoffs. Shai was the 4th leading scorer last season, averaging 31 points per game, while making 51% of his shots. He has ridiculously impressive touch around the basket, and he always seems to control the tempo and pace of play with the ball in his hands. And finally, the number 1 player under the age of 25 right now is of course Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks. This should come as no surprise to anyone, as Luka Doncic is already producing like an MVP candidate. He is 24 years old, so this is the last year he can be on this list, but as he approaches his prime, we may be seeing the next face of basketball. He's a 32-point scorer and a triple-double threat every single night, and there isn't a shot he isn't capable of making, establishing him as one of the most unstoppable forces in the NBA today. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below how you would rank the NBA's youngsters coming through the ranks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.